Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is the big news breaking from this morning. Now, we do know. I think we jump to this right here. Nathan Wade is the he's stepping down. He's a special prosecutor who was appointed by Fani Willis. And after the judge ruled, basically nothing's going to happen. She's allowed to keep her work going. She won't be taken off of this case. I can't say I'm surprised. When the judge dismissed 6 charges against the Trump defendants, 3 against Trump personally, many people were saying that this is evidence that the judge will not rule against Fani Willis. What we're hearing now in the press is that the judge wants to split the baby. That's what everyone's saying. Split the baby. As anyone knows, when you split the baby dies.
That's a problem.
And so if the issue here is that Judge Scott McAfee was trying to prevent, I don't know, what's the right word? Acrimonious conflict or whatever, how we doing conflict in general. He's certainly done the opposite. And he has, as the coward he is, the spineless, pathetic man that he is, flicked a match into the tinderbox. Because the appropriate move for this spineless piece of trash would have been to say, if you don't want there to be conflict, you must stop the conflict. So which he should have said, what we're going to do is, to avoid the image of partiality and bias, we will politely ask Miss Willis to please step aside, and we will have someone else come and take up this case. This is not indicative of wrongdoing on Miss Willis. It's indicative of the integrity of the court and our attempt to appear impartial as we bring justice about. Instead, he's terrified what the left would do if he even tried to be impartial. So he said, burn the whole thing to the ground. And there we are.
Yeah, it's a rough time for him because he's also in the middle of a re-election campaign. So I don't know if that will hurt. I don't think it will help him in his district. But he said before this wasn't political. He's staying biased. You know, a lot of eyes were on him in this decision. And I thought the language of like, well, either Willis and her entire office can go, or Wade can step down. So you guys make a decision. Whatever you think was sort of, he was really trying to walk a weird line.
It's another irony in every single legal case, the lawfare against Trump, every single time. They do exactly what they're accusing Trump of. So they're charging him with RICO and racketeering and perjury. I mean, the worst thing she's accused of doing is intimidating witnesses, which is incredibly serious. And yet she's allowed to stay on this case. The reason is quite simple. Just like with Jack Smith, they need to get this case in before the election. This is all about election interference. So they're worried, well, if we remove her from the case and bring someone else on, perhaps this won't come about before the election. Make no mistake, this has nothing to do with justice. It is completely about interfering in the election and trying to save the American people because they know they're going to get a guilty verdict because the left is nuts and they don't care. They'll indict Trump for anything. It doesn't matter if he did it or not. It's all about impugning him and interfering in the election, which, by the way, is the very thing they say that Trump tried to do, which makes him an authoritarian.
I suppose the issue, the question is, does this hurt Trump or help him more that he's being targeted, indicted? Because the one thing it is doing is making sure that Trump can't campaign. While Trump is locked up in court, going to Florida, trying to get dismissals and things like this, you've got Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and they're going out and they're campaigning. What, Kamala Harris, you went to like a Planned Parenthood or something?
Yeah, in Minnesota.
They're cheating. This is cheating. Democrats are cheating. And the question is, does it actually hurt Trump, though? Because many people have made the argument that his polls go up when we see things like this.
Well, his polls do go up when we see this kind of thing. And I think that a lot of people also see that the way that Trump is being targeted is in many ways the way that Americans are being targeted. We have the DOJ going after moms and parents at school board meetings, including a father whose daughter was, allegedly raped in the school bathroom, and the DOJ went after him. We have the DOJ going after Catholics who prefer Latin Mass, all based on just one guy's information, and they extrapolated that. You have the Biden administration still saying that white supremacy and domestic extremism are the biggest threats facing the United States while the border is collapsing. You have Haitian immigrants are about to flood the country. The Biden administration has a program in place where 30,000 refugees can come into the U.S. from very specific countries, including Venezuela and Haiti, 2 countries that have definitely been in the news lately. We've seen a lot of crimes lately in the U.S. committed by Venezuelan asylum seekers, and we're about to have that kind of stuff going on probably from
asylum seekers.
That's what they say. That's how they make it legal. Asylum seekers. And this guy, Jose Ibarra, who is accused of killing Laken Riley in Georgia, he was an asylum seeker. And a story out from the New York Post quoted his wife saying that the reason they got married She had a 5-year-old from a previous relationship, and she said the reason they got married was so that they could join up their asylum cases and have a better shot at gaining asylum. And now it turns out that, he's a murderer.
That's the beginning of a rom-com. But that's such a great reason to get married.
It's a meet cute. Oh. But the other thing, too, that we see in Michigan and Wisconsin, we're also seeing the states there, the attorney generals there going after electors who were on the alternate slate of electors. So Americans who are locked up in the legal system for these kind of crazy charges, the J6ers, all of that, they can see what's going on. I think what would be great for Trump is if he got a VP pick, and the VP pick could go out there, someone who's really good at campaigning. That's what we want to see, someone who can draw crowds.
Well, and this is one of the things Nikki Haley used against Trump. She gave a speech saying, Trump spends more time in the courtroom than on the campaign trail, right? Everyone who's against Trump points to his legal issues and says, look, he's not committed to you as voters, when really I think his true supporters are like, you guys are doing everything you can to bind his wrists to the wall and keep him from running.
Right. It's and she was even one of the people saying we have to tie this up before the election. Mm-hmm. We have Trump's attorneys out there every day, like pushing it back and pushing it back. And I correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but Alvin Bragg in New York, he said he elevated the 34 counts of falsifying business records. These are misdemeanors. He elevated them to a felony, and he still hasn't given any explanation for how they're a felony. They can only be a felony if they were in commission to a greater crime, and he still hasn't said what that crime is.
Well, because they're liars and they're corrupt and they'll just do whatever they want.
That's exactly right.
And remember, that charge that Bragg's charging with has to do with campaign finance non-disclosures, a crime that we know Hillary Clinton committed.
Well, Hillary Clinton paid $8,000 in a fine for that.
Right. That's
$8,000.
That's constantly the theme.
And the DNC had to pay a much larger sum of money. But Hillary Clinton did the same thing. She got fined $8,000. And Trump is, what do you think they're going to fine him $8,000 for the same crime?
You go back to the FAR violation.
$8,000 million.
And her crime, she said that money paid to her attorneys was for legal fees. And it was actually money paid to her attorneys to create the Steele dossier.
Right. And you go back to every single one of these charges, the FAR violations against Trump's campaign manager. We talked about this morning a little, right? That same crime was committed with the Podesta Group, which was the campaign manager of Hillary Clinton. And yet they're allowed to receive retroactively filing paperwork. You have Hunter Biden who committed FAR violations. Every single one of these crimes, the problem isn't that they're charging the crimes. The problem is the two-tier justice and selective prosecution. The entire Russia collusion story was as follows. We had to break some eggs. We had to break the law because the allegation's so serious that Trump may have colluded with Russians. And how did they seek to prove it? By Hillary Clinton colluding with a Russian spy and the FBI allowing it to get dirt to illegally spy on Trump. Every single time what they accuse Trump of is exactly what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, somebody has to pay for their crimes, and it's not going to be them.
It's absolutely true. And you have to look at with Fani Willis here. Again, they say that they're against even the appearance of impropriety. Go back and look when you had James Comey was fired, and so they have the Mueller report. Mueller was the basically advisor of James Comey, his mentor. That committee had 17 Democrats on it, and including 2 lawyers that worked for the Hillary campaign. And I said at the time, I was like, if there's ever a right-winger that does a special counsel, they'll lose their mind. We have the Her report. And just because this guy, saluted an American flag or something at some point in his life, they're like, he must be Republican. They're so jaded and they're so entitled that the left wing and the Democrat perception of things is we not only expect special prosecutors and the FBI to let us off the hook, they're not even allowed to say a bad word about us while we do it. That's the double system that we have, where they literally are let off the hook for obvious crimes. But if someone like Comey says, but it was bad, or Her says, yeah, the president's losing his marbles, they say that's not good enough that he let him off the hook. It's the double. This country cannot survive this sort of double standard. This is the real election interference. And unless we stand up and do something about it, we're going to be in a really bad place. I mean, I think
they hired Scott Presler.
That's
wait, real quick. Did they hire Scott Presler, or they're just working with Scott Presler?
I think they're in talks to hire him, right?
They announced that he's going to come.
Okay, that's huge.
Stuff, yeah.
That guy is one of the most effective organizers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's a good step.
I think it's a really good step. I think it's inspirational. I mean, Scott's young and he's really boots on the ground. He's involved and he's extremely passionate. This is the kind of thing that I think young conservatives are really looking for in the party. They want someone who wants to take action, do something, and is sort of relentless. I mean, that's the thing you can say about him. He just will not stop. And they need that kind of energy right now.
I think there's a lot of hope that you see people like that, shows like this, Like, the truth is, you're not going to get from the legacy media or the establishment Republicans like the Mitch McConnell. They don't care. They don't care that this is happening to Trump because they look at Trump as their enemy. They would rather be the people in charge of a losing party than lose their position in a winning party. They don't want that. And so it's up to average people, regular people that are empowered by social media and other places, to show the American people how bad this double standard is and how corrupt it is and how it is actual election interference. And I see hope when you see people like Scott Pressler being put forward, when you see that the mainstream media is losing their legitimacy, when you see that Trump's poll numbers are going up, in large part because people are like, even if I don't care for the man individually, we can't stand for this two-tiered system. And we'll see what happens. The corruption's going to be insane.
I think we've got cultural problems in this country between these cultish individuals who don't care what's right or wrong. They just hate Trump. And so they're going to march in lockstep no matter what happens. There's not going to be a point where someone says, you know what, this two-tiered system is bad. We shouldn't allow it. Now, if Trump ends up winning, and then Trump says, I think we should enforce the law, they're going to claim it's a two-tiered system and he's targeting us. Help, help.
I mean, we talked about it a little this morning. Just take this one little example. Ari Melber, I think MSNBC, right? He comes out when Elon was talking about buying X, and he says, can you imagine if Elon Musk bought this? What if he censored a Democratic candidate? What if they shadow banned Democratic arguments? They're so entitled. They weren't worried that Elon was going to come along and do to them what they did to us. They were worried that he would just stop them doing it. And so they put these hypotheticals out there like, wouldn't it be terrible if Trump did to us what we're doing to him and his supporters? And I'm sorry, I can't stomach the double standard and hypocrisy from these people anymore. If any one of us here at this table, if we were on a jury, it wouldn't matter if we liked or disliked.
Grab the mic. Pull the mic up.
Sorry. It wouldn't matter if we liked or disliked the person. We would try our best to be fair. These left-wing people believe they are morally superior to us to the point where they don't care. Show me the person and I'll show you the crime. And so every one of us know, in every left-wing area, they will convict Trump of anything. Facts be damned. They don't care. And how can you live in a society where we say, hey, we want to be fair to you. We might think you're stupid. We might disagree, but we wouldn't want to lock you up. 28% of people in a YouGov poll in, I think, 2022, 28% of Democrats polled said they wanted to take your children away if you refuse the vaccine. How do you live side by side with people that want to do the most heinous thing imaginable?
Well, Republicans have no counter at all. We talked about this morning as well, but it's here. There's no U.S. attorneys. There's no district attorneys. There's no Republicans in any state. There's no governors. There's no AGs. Let me pause. Obviously, Ken Paxton has some stuff going on. So, how about that? And but even Ron DeSantis is not really doing that much. And really what it comes down to is these district attorneys. I mean, this Fani Willis is a Fulton County. She's a county DA. She's a prosecutor for she's a district attorney. She is not a governor. She is not a senator. She is not a high-powered federal official. She is not she's not even a sheriff.
Like
county.
Bragg. Yeah.
And Letitia James. Now she's state, but then you've got Bragg. Where is a single Bumpkinville prosecutor to be like, well, gee, I guess I'll charge Joe Biden with racketeering.
I don't understand.
And then he
either.
files the charges, and they go, sir, you represent a county of like 3,000 people. Well, that's the law. No, that's not even happening.
I don't understand that either.
It's file the paper, send it in. Nope, they won't do it.
Yeah, that's something Charlie Kirk was talking about a while back. He was like, let's sue Biden. Like,
sue, criminally charge him.
I mean, Ken Paxton, you're right, is suing the Biden administration for a lot of stuff, but it's very
how about
Texas and border localized, which is
in the Bush.
How about this? Joe Biden, where was he when he had the conversation with his ghostwriter? Do we know? Was it in Delaware?
I think it was in his Delaware home.
So Delaware, he's protected because ain't no Delaware person going to go after him. But hold on. Joe Biden lied. He said at a meeting that he did not tell his ghostwriter that he did not tell him any classified information. Okay. How about we start here? I'm sure there's a lot of better things you can do, but Joe Biden, the Democrat, they fundraise. Joe Biden's campaign fundraises. So if he lies in his fundraising, fraud charge. Right. Fraudulent. He is lying to people in exchange for money. That's fraud in your district. They're going after Trump on the same documents, charges that Hillary, Biden, and Obama, Clinton, everyone should have faced. None of them should have been charged for this. And Matt Gaetz says, look, nobody should be charged for these things. But they're going after him because they're trying to find anything they can. Why are there no Republicans simply saying, if you accepted any amount of money in my state and you lied, and he did, and come on, then I'm sorry, you're going to have to, you're facing criminal charges for fraud. We're going to investigate you. How about the solicitation of donations from Kamala Harris for the terrorists during the George Floyd riots? Yeah. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.